What really defines a nation? Is it just lines on a map or ancient traditions? Well, for the United States, its story is a little different. It's really a series of sharp turns, sudden jolts, and pivotal moments that completely changed its direction forever. So today, let's explore those key events, the shocks and revolutions, that didn't just shape a nation, but actually created the America we know.
Everything really starts with this one sentence. This single idea is the entire foundation of the American experiment. And you have to understand, at the time, this was an absolutely radical, world-shattering concept. For centuries, power was a birthright, handed down from God to kings. This sentence just flips that whole idea on its head. It says, nope, real power flows up from the people.
So let's dive into that. The nation's founding wasn't just about winning a war. It was about trying to bring this wild new concept of self-governance to life.
Okay, so July 4th, 1776. This is the moment, right? The Declaration of Independence becomes the country's official birth certificate. But it was so much more than just a breakup letter to King George. It was really a philosophical mission statement for the whole world to see. It took ideas from thinkers like John Locke and laid out this universal argument for liberty, not just for Americans, but for everyone.
Now here's a fun fact. Their first attempt at a government was a complete disaster. It was called the Articles of Confederation, and the central government was so weak it couldn't even collect taxes to pay its own army. It just didn't work. So in 1787, they went back to the drawing board and created the Constitution, a brilliant, durable framework for a stronger federal government that's still with us today.
So, with a new government in place, the young nation starts to expand at this incredible rate. But that very growth, well, it would expose a deep, fatal flaw right at the country's heart.
It all started with what has to be the greatest real estate deal in history. In 1803, the U.S. paid France just $15 million for a huge chunk of land. But what exactly did that $15 million get them?
It got them this, 828,000 square miles of territory. The Louisiana Purchase instantly doubled the size of the country. Just like that. It fueled the whole idea of manifest destiny, and, crucially, it gave the U.S. control of the Mississippi River, which was basically the superhighway of trade for the entire American heartland, a truly nation-defining deal.
But as the country got bigger, that flaw I mentioned, the issue of slavery, it became a powder keg just waiting to explode. And this represents the catastrophic cost of that explosion. The Civil War, which began in 1861, claimed 750,000 lives, all to settle two massive questions. Would the Union survive, and would it be free?
Having somehow survived its own internal collapse, the United States then walked straight into a series of 20th century crises that would test it to the limit and forge its new role as a global superpower. The first test was economic. I mean, just look at this chart. The Wall Street crash of 1929 was utterly devastating. We're talking a nearly 90% drop. The Great Depression didn't just wipe out fortunes, it absolutely pulverized the nation's confidence in capitalism itself. And this led directly to FDR's New Deal, which massively expanded the government's role in American life forever.
Then came a trial by fire. You've all heard these words from President Franklin D. Roosevelt. He was, of course, talking about December 7, 1941, the attack on Pearl Harbor. In just a few hours, the American idea of isolationism was completely dead, and the nation was suddenly plunged into the Second World War.
And the end of that war, well, it marked a terrifying new beginning for the whole world. The use of the atomic bomb on Hiroshima on August 6, 1945, didn't just end World War II. It kicked off the nuclear age and the Cold War, a decades-long standoff that would reshape the entire globe.
But you know, some pivotal moments weren't battles or laws. They were sudden, traumatic events that became these permanent scars on the national psyche.
Just 5 days after the Civil War finally ended, Abraham Lincoln was assassinated. The timing is just gut-wrenching. The nation was robbed of the one leader who might have been able to guide a peaceful reconstruction. It was a loss that would have tragic consequences for decades to come.
Almost a century later, another president was struck down. The assassination of John F. Kennedy, captured on film for all to see, was like watching a fairy tale shatter in real time. It just abruptly ended an era of hope and became this defining moment of shock and disillusionment for a whole generation.
And for many of us, this is the date. The 9/11 attacks were the deadliest act of terrorism in history. They didn't just bring down towers,
They fundamentally reshaped American security, foreign policy, and just daily life in ways we are still dealing with today.
So as we move into the modern era, we see these new frontiers opening up, but also new kinds of crises. It's a time that contrasts humanity's greatest triumphs with some really profound tragedies.
On July 20th, 1969, the entire world held its breath and watched this happen. The moon landing was so much more than a scientific victory. It was this symbolic peak of American optimism and the decisive moment in the Cold War's space race. It was just a moment of pure, unified triumph.
And then we pivot to a very different kind of modern moment. This number, over 1 million, represents the American lives lost to the COVID-19 pandemic. And unlike the moon landing, this crisis didn't unite the country. In fact, it exposed deep divisions and left these profound social and economic scars that we're still trying to heal.
So, from a simple declaration of principles to a complex global pandemic. These are the moments that have truly defined the United States. They are the turning points in the national story. And, it leaves us with one final, crucial question to think about. What event is happening right now that future generations will look back on as the next pivotal moment?